Hey guys, Melissa here with lovableloops.com. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you guys how to make a corner-to-corner granny square baby lovey. I'm showing you how to make a baby lovey because it's smaller than a full-size baby blanket, but you would use the exact same concept to make a baby blanket. I'm using Premier Sweet Roll yarn in the color Peaches and Cream Pop. This is a worsted weight number 4 yarn, and the recommended hook size is an I 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. So I have my clover hook here. Just to give you an idea of what this will look like, this is how the corner-to-corner granny square looks when you're crocheting it. This is actually an afghan here that I'm working on. I'll set that aside. Okay, to begin, we're going to begin by making a slip knot. And you are going to chain 2. Okay? In that first chain you made, which is the second chain from your hook, you are going to make a single crochet. This is the only single crochet of the entire project. So this is going to be the bottom corner of your baby blanket. Now, every new row of your baby blanket is going to begin with a chain 4. So to begin row 2, you're going to go ahead and chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now we are going to turn our work, and you are going to make 3 double crochet in that single crochet stitch that we made from row 1. Okay. One, two, three. Okay, so now we have our chain 4 and our 3 double crochet. Every row begins with this chain 4, and this chain 4 is supposed to be a double crochet with a chain 1. This is also called a post. These 3 double crochet that are worked into the same stitch are also called a shell. So we have a post, the space there, then the shell. So now we are going to chain 1 to make another space, and we are going to double crochet into that same single crochet one more time. Okay, so now we have our post, our shell, which is those 3 double crochet in that same stitch, and then another post. So we have just completed row 2. To begin row 3, you are going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn your work. You are going to double crochet into that first space there. You're going to make 3 double crochet. So you're going to make a shell. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so here we have that chain 4, which is our post, space, our shell, which is our 3 double crochet. Now you're going to chain 1, and you are going to work into the next chain space. So you're going to skip over the shell and work into this next space over here. And you're going to make another shell, which is your 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now we need to end our row with another post. So chain 1 and make another double crochet into that same space. Okay, so this is what our work looks like so far. Okay, so here you can see we have our post, our shell, then we have a space in between each shell, which is the chain 1, another shell, space, and another post. Begin your next row by chaining 4. Turn your work. You're going to make 3 double crochet into that first space. 1, 2, 3, and you're going to chain 1, and you are going to make your next shell into that next space there. And again, a shell is 3 double crochet worked into the seam space. 2, 3. Okay, now to get to the next one, you're going to chain 1, and once again, you're going to make 3 double crochet or a shell into that last space. 1, 2, 3. And to end this row, we need our chain 1 and our double crochet. Chain 1, double crochet. Okay, to begin our next row, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn your work, make 3 double crochet into that first space. 2, 3. Okay, so you made a shell, chain 1, then you're going to make another shell, your 3 double crochet in that next space. 1, 2, 'Caught my hair in there. 3. Okay, so we have our post with the space, which is our chain 4, shell, chain 1, shell, chain 1. We're going to make another shell, which is 3 double crochet into that next space. 2, 3, chain 1 again, and then make another shell, your 3 double crochet into the last space. Okay, and because we're still increasing the size, your row will always end with a chain 1 and a double crochet because that is the post. Okay. Now, it does feel like your work will start to like fan out to curve. Just stretch out your sides a bit. Once we get to the length that we want, the width and length that we want, we will begin to decrease our rows, and this will straighten itself out and become more square-like. So don't worry too much about that right now if your work is starting to look like it's fanning. Okay, for the next row, so now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for row 6, you're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn your work, make 3 double crochet or a shell into that first space. 1, 2, 3, chain 1, make a shell into that next space. Okay, and you're going to chain 1 again, make a shell in that next space. Okay, chain 1, make a shell in the next space. Okay, chain 1, make a shell in the last space over here. Okay, so our shell, our 3 double crochet is made. Now because we're still increasing, which means we're still making the blanket larger, we're going to chain 1 and make a post, which is a double crochet. Okay, now row 6 is complete. So this is what your work should be looking like. Okay. All right. So we have row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So to begin row 7, chain 4. Your rows are always going to begin with a chain 4. You're going to make a shell in that first space. Okay. And you're going to chain 1. Make a shell in the next space. Okay. Chain 1. Make a shell in the next space. Okay. Chain 1. Make a shell in the next space. Chain 1. Okay, so you just made a shell. In that space, chain 1, make a shell in the last space. And a shell, once again, that is 3 double crochet in the same space. So when you make 3 double crochet in the same space or in the same stitch like we did down here, that's called a shell. Okay, now we're in the last space. We just made our shell, so once again we need to chain 1 and double crochet to make, that's our post. Okay, to begin the next row, I'm going to chain 4, turn my work. I'm going to make 3 double crochet in that first space there. 1, 2, 3. Chain 1. I'm going to go to the next space, make another shell, 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3. Chain 1. Go to the next space, make another shell. Chain 1, go to the next space, make another shell. Chain 1, go to the next space, make another shell. Chain 1, go to the next space, make another shell. Okay, chain 1, find your last space, make another shell. Okay, because this is the last space and we're still making our blanket larger, we're still increasing, chain 1 and double crochet again. Okay, I'm going to set this down, stretch it out a bit. So it does look like it's fanning out, but don't worry. This will straighten out when we're done increasing and we begin decreasing. So as you can see here, while you're still making your blanket larger or increasing, every row is going to start with a post, which is right here. Our post is that chain 4, which is really a double crochet space, and then you'll have shell, space, 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 post. Okay, go ahead and chain 4 to begin the next row. Make 3 double crochet or a shell in that first space. 1, 2, 3, chain 1, make another shell in the next space. Chain 1, another shell in the next space, chain 1, another shell in that next space, chain 1, another shell in the next space, chain 1, shell in the next space, chain 1, another shell in the next space, chain 1, a shell in the last space, okay. Since this is the last space and we're still increasing the size of our square, chain 1 and double crochet. Okay. So what you would do is you'll just keep repeating that same pattern over and over again until you get to the width that you want. So the width will be equal to the height simply because we're working a square. So what we want to do is the average size of a Lovey blanket is about 10 by 10 or 12 by 12 usually. So I'm going to go ahead and continue increasing the size of my baby blanket until I reach 10 inches. So it looks like right now it's approximately 5 inches, so we're about halfway there. So I'm going to continue increasing until I reach 10 inches. And then I will show you how to decrease. So once we get to the size that we want this way, we're going to have to start bringing it back to the other corner, the smaller corner. So we'll have to make the blanket smaller to close it off. And then I'll show you how to make some pom-poms for each corner. Okay, so go ahead and continue increasing following that same pattern that we have been doing. So remember, every row starts with a chain 4. You're going to make a shell in each space, and then between each space you're chaining 1. So you'll make a shell, chain 1, make a shell in the next space, chain 1, shell in the next space, and continue. And remember, each row needs to end with, after that last shell, you need to make a chain 1 and then another double crochet. Okay, so I'll meet back up with you when our projects equal 10 inches. Okay, so now my work equals 10 inches long. So now I'm going to begin decreasing. Now the decreasing, regardless of how large you decided to make your blanket, you're going to be doing the decrease rows the same way. So here I have the last row that I increased. Okay, so I'm going to, I'm going to chain 4. Each row is still going to begin with a chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, turn your work. Okay, so when I was increasing, I would work into that first space there where I would make a shell. What we are going to do is skip that first space, and in the next space, you are going to work a shell. Okay, and you can see that's going to start giving this a flat edge at the top. So rather than continuing to build up, we're making a flat edge. Okay, now the middle spaces are going to be worked the same way. It's the ends that will start to come in. Okay, so we're going to keep working these shells here the same way we did before. You're going to chain 1, and in each of those spaces you're going to work a shell. Chain 1, shell in that next space, chain 1, work a shell in the next space, chain 1, work a shell in that next space, okay, and just continue that all the way across until you get to the second to last space. Okay, so continue working your shells and your chain 1s until you work your shell into this space. Don't do anything with that last space. Okay. Okay, I'm at my second to last space. I'm going to work this space as I normally would. So I'm going to make a shell and a chain 1. So 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, 3 double crochet. So there I have my shell, and I'm going to chain 1. Okay, Now normally you would work a shell, a chain 1, and a double crochet in this last space. What we're going to do now is simply work a double crochet, so just the post. Okay, and you might be able to see how that, when we continue working, will pull our work in. Probably be easier to see it after a few more rows, but you can already see down here actually more easily that it's starting to make our work go up rather than continue to grow outward. Now I did quickly want to count my rows. I forgot to mark it down, how many rows of increasing I did. So remember that first single crochet technically counts as your first row. So we have rows of shells. So this shell was worked into that single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, so I had 17 increase rows. So we just did our first decrease row. Okay, so let's do the next row. Now, like I said before, every new row begins with a chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn your work. And once again, rather than working into that first space, you're going to skip over it and make a shell in the next space. Okay, and then you're going to continue working the middle like you normally would, and then you're going to work into that second to last space like you normally would, and then I'll show you at the end here. We're going to do what we just did. You're just going to do your shell, chain 1 in the second to last space, and then another double crochet or post in that last space, okay? All right, so I'm going to work until I get to the end of this row, and then I'll show you how to end the row. Okay, so I just worked my shell. Oops, sorry. Okay, space is larger than it normally is. Okay, so I just worked my shell and chain one in my second to last space. This is the second to last space here. This here is your last space. So I did my shell, chain one, and now I'm just going to work one double crochet into that space there. Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and show you one more row of the decreasing, and then I'll let you off to do the rest yourself until we get, of course, to the very end, and I'll show you how to make those very last rows. But again, every row begins with a chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn your work. And you're going to skip that first space, and in that next space, you're going to make a double, or excuse me, a shell. Okay, and then once again, you're working all of these spaces the same, and then I will meet back up with you when we get to our second to last space here. So you'll work into the second to last. This is the last space of the row. Okay, so I just worked my second to last space of this row. This is the last space here, so I'm going to, so I did my shell and my chain one. I'm going to go ahead and make a double crochet in that last space. Okay, and you can see here, this is starting to turn in, and you can see down here it's also starting to turn in. Okay, all right, so I'm going to let you go ahead and continue working that until we get to like the last few rows. Remember, every row starts the chain 4. You'll skip the first space, and then continue working your shells, chain ones normally until you get to the second to last space. You do your shell chain one and then just double crochet once in that last space. Okay, and I will meet back up with you when there are only a few rows left to do. Okay, so now I'm at the point where I have 1, 2, 3 shells left in my next row. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to turn my work, and again, you're skipping over that first space. Go ahead and make a shell in that next space. Okay, chain 1, make a shell in that next space there. Chain 1, and then in the last space, make your double crochet. Okay, all right, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, turn your work. Skip this first space. You're going to make your shell here in that middle space, which is the second space. 2, 3, and chain 1. And now here in the last space, you're going to double crochet. Okay. And now, to finish this off, you're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, turn your work, and again, you're skipping this first space, but you only have 2 spaces left. You're simply going to double crochet in this last space here, okay? And there you have it. So I think the camera's too close for you to see the entire thing, but we are done now with our square. And let me grab my measuring tape here. This is 10 inches across. Okay, we're gonna add a border to it also. So, all right. So now to add the border, I'm gonna chain 1. I'm gonna turn my work, okay? And now I am going to single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Oops, what did I do here? I'm used to yarning over. Single crochet, and then I'm going to single crochet again. So I did a single crochet, chain 2, and then 2 single crochets. That's because when after I work my way all the way around, I'll put 1 more single crochet here. So it'll be 2 single crochet, chain 2, 2 single crochet at the end. But for now, I started with 1 single crochet, chain 2, and that chain 2 is to help make the corner here, and then 2 single crochet. Now what we're going to do is in each space down the side, you're just going to crochet 2 single crochet, and you do not want to crochet too tightly, okay? Don't pull your yarn. Make sure your tension isn't too tight, because you really want those single crochet to be, what we don't want to do is crochet them too tightly and then have them cinch the blanket anywhere, okay? So just loosely, evenly all the way around, 2 single crochet down the side. And I'll show you again what to do when we get to the next corner. Okay, so okay. So this looks like here, this is going to be my corner. So I just made my 2 single crochet. I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to make 2 single crochet here again. Okay. We have our corner. Now you can see our 2 corners here, just like that. Okay, you're going to continue doing that same thing all the way down. You're going to make 2 single crochet in those spaces. Now remember, you have your shell here, but there's a space there, so make sure that you don't skip over that. Make sure you put your 2 single crochet in those spaces on the side, okay? So all the way down the sides, you have these 3 remaining sides, okay? 2 single crochet in each space. In the corners, you're going to make 2 single crochet, chain 2, 2 single crochet. Okay, so here, this is the corner here. And then, okay, and then this is the first one that we did. So when you get back to your original corner, just make 1 more single crochet, and then you can fasten off your yarn. And I'll meet back up with you after that to show you how to make the pom-poms. We're going to make 4 little pom-poms and attach them to each corner. Okay, so I finished my border, and now I'm going to show you how to make the pom-poms. I actually went ahead and made 3 of them, just because I wanted to make sure that I was happy with the size that I was showing you guys. So I had purchased these smaller pom-pom makers. I have larger ones that I use a lot, but I had purchased a pack of these 2, pack of 2. So these are Clover pom-pom makers. These came together in a pack. And I believe this one is 1 3/8 of an inch diameter pom-pom, and then this one is 1 5/8 of an inch diameter pom-pom. So I was using the larger of the 2, this one, and let me show you how I did that. Okay, and you can see, look, I think it looks really cute, the pom-poms in the corners. Okay, so you're going to, the pom-pom itself, the pom-pom maker, is actually 2 pieces, okay? And it comes assembled like this. That gets pushed together, and these are sets of arches, okay? They close just like that. So what you want to do is you want to open the first set of arches, and I don't know if this is because I'm right-handed, but this is how I do it. So what I like to do is I hold the yarn back here, and then I wrap this, yep, hold on, sorry. Okay, you wrap the yarn in this direction and try to cover up as much of the yellow as possible, okay? So the more you wrap the yarn now, the thicker and fluffier your pom-pom will be. And I like it when they're really fluffy, so I like to use a lot of yarn. So I usually do 3 swipes. I go from left to right, and then I go back from right to left, back to where I started like I just did. And then I'll go back again from left to right. Okay, and then you're going to close that, okay? Make sure you keep firm grip on that yarn. Then you're going to open the other side. You can do the same thing on that side. And again, I do 3 swipes. Left to right, right to left, left to right. Okay. Back to the left. Now my husband would tell you I don't know my left from my right because I'm awful at giving directions when we're driving. But, and then you go back from the left, back to the right. Okay. Okay, so now you're going to close that. You're going to want a smaller pair of scissors for this. I find that these larger scissors are harder to use with the pom-pom makers. Okay, so you can just snip those ends. Okay, you're going to actually need to cut a piece of a scrap of yarn for yourself. This is what's going to be attaching the pom-pom, like tie it in the center, and then will be used to attach it to the Lovey. Okay, so now there are these grooves. Let me get it started and you'll see. These grooves here in the pom-pom maker. All you do is cut the yarn along that groove. I used a lot of yarn. Okay, do it on both sides. Make sure you cut it all the way through because you're going to be using this space to tie off the pom-pom, and if there's anything preventing it from pulling as tight as you can, your pom-pom could come apart later. So we're good. So you take that scrap piece of yarn and it goes into that groove where you cut. Okay, and you pull it nice and tight. So this is what's going to secure all of that yarn in the middle, okay? And then you just tie it off. Now, I always worry about pom-poms coming undone. I don't know if you've seen any of my other tutorials, but I usually double, triple knot. I'll even carry my yarn to the other side and tie it off again. But another trick that you can use, so here, I'll show you in just a moment. So after you tie that off really well, carefully open both sides of the arches, and then you carefully remove those two pieces. Now, this would be easier with the larger pom-poms, but if you're worried about your pom-pom coming undone, what you can do is use a hot glue gun and put a dab of hot glue into the center of each side, okay? I'm not doing that today for this video because I don't have it plugged in. But that does help keep the center of the pom-pom secure so that doesn't come undone. And then you use a pair of scissors and you go through and you give your pom-pom a little trim. Make sure all of those pieces of yarn are as close to the same size as possible. And you fluff it up, okay? And then to attach my pom-pom, all I did was tie it around the corners. Okay, so I just passed one end through, and then I tied it, and then I double knotted it. And then I'll just weave those two yarn tails onto the back there. All right, so there you have it. I know it's harder to see because the camera's so close, but I'll make sure in the cover of the video that you have a full picture. And eventually I will get this up on my blog, hopefully today, later today or tomorrow, the pattern where you'll be able to see full-size photos. And if I have that, once I get that up, I will link to it below. So I hope you guys found this tutorial helpful. I am always making new tutorials and always writing new patterns. So please go ahead over to my blog, check it out, see if there's anything there that you like. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell, and if you found this video helpful, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. All right, thank you.